Welcome to episode 102 of the Girl About the Globe podcast. For this episode, I'm going to be transporting you to the island of Bali. If you've ever wanted to go to Bali, this episode is for you. Stay tuned.
Welcome to Girl About the Globe, a podcast for you, the solo female traveller, empowering women to travel solo with maximum adventure, minimum impact.
Bali is such an amazing island and it's really popular now for solo travellers. I first went there when I was 25, a long time ago, but now it's just meant to be amazing for digital nomads and spirituality. You probably heard of Bali from the book Eat, Pray, Love by Elizabeth Gilbert, when she actually spent a few months in Bali delving into her spirituality. So for this episode, I'm going to talk about Bali, what you can do there, places to stay, how to get around, and basically just try to inspire you to go to this amazing island. When you solo travel in Bali, you really don't need to worry about being there alone. Because it's such a destination for digital nomads, it means that you're guaranteed to meet others there. And on a star rating out of 5, I actually would give it 5 out of 5 for being solo female friendly. The island attracts every kind of solo, from party solo to spiritual and cultural girl about the globes. It's a Hindu island, so it is very cultural as well. And just because you travel to Bali alone does not mean that you will end up in Bali on your own, especially if you love yoga. The island is now a mecca for those seeking meditation and yoga retreats. It's also very creative, so you do find a lot of the creative types and writing retreats. So if you want to create your storytelling masterpiece, you can get inspired in Bali. Kuta Beach is very busy and very touristy. It's quite overrun with travellers, and a lot of Australians go there for their holiday. If you're a Brit, think of it a bit like the Costa del Sol, where Brits go to Spain. But you'll find more spiritual and creative people in Ubud. And the island also attracts couples. And from my experience, they tend to stay in the Nusa Dua region. The island is actually known as the Island of the Gods, and the Balinese will greet you with a warm welcome. They're really kind, gentle people. But saying that, because the island now has so many visitors, you do just need to be very careful of your belongings. There were cases of bag snatching in the tourist area, so you just need to make sure that you keep hold of your bag wherever you're travelling, basically, even on public transport. Drivers there can be a little bit erratic, but it is very easy to get around. And as with anywhere, just be very careful when you're walking around at night by yourself. If you are going to indulge in some of the island's partying, just keep an eye on your drinks as well. It's just the general rules for travelling solo, basically. I don't know if you remembered, Bali was also known for the volcano that erupted. So just have a look at your Foreign Office advice before you go and just check any warnings in regards to the volcano. Not that that should be a problem in the future. But overall, Bali is a really wonderful country to explore independently. You can get tours there, but I honestly don't think you really need to take a tour there. You can do it very easily by yourself. It is one of the most popular backpacking destinations. It's basically just, if you just picture a tropical paradise with rice terraces and green rice fields. There's a volcano, there's surfing beaches. It's just an amazing Indonesian island, and it can be as touristy or authentic as you want it to be. It depends on where you want to stay and where you want to explore. The Balinese do depend on tourism for the majority of their livelihoods, but because the island is quite large, every place is very different. Denpasar, for example, is the capital. It's located in the south of the island. It's the largest city, and it's home to monuments from the Dutch colonial period and the Bali Museum, where you can actually see traditional costumes and cultural artefacts. You'll also find many of the Hindu temples there, including the Pura Agon Jagannatha, which is close to the museum. My pronunciation is so bad. There's also the Puri Pemikutan and Pura Masupatit. Denpasar also is quite buzzing because it has lively street markets. You can also watch the cultural Kekak fire dance performances, which is definitely a must-see in Bali. I love the way that they dance in Bali. It's all very elegant, and a lot of it is with the fingers. It's just really, really amazing watching a cultural dance there. The capital itself is quite charming, and it's a destination that you'd want to visit, but maybe not necessarily stay, especially if you're going to be there alone. There are other areas that you might want to stay in. There's Sanur, which is the east of the capital. It's a former fishing village. It has a very relaxed vibe and amazing sunrise views. It's quite a romantic destination now, so it does attract many couples, but don't let that stop you from exploring the beach, which goes on for miles, and there's lots of shops and restaurants along the promenade. Here, there are colourful fishing boats. You can visit the art galleries and make sure that you see the Pura Blangyong Temple, which is a coral temple with 10th century inscriptions upon its pillars. If you're unsure what to do in Bali alone and you love the water, then water sports should be on the top of your list. So you can do anything here, from go on a jet ski, go parasailing, take one of the touristy rolling donut rides. If you do want to do all of that, then you should visit Tajong Benoa Beach on the southeast side of the island. On this particular peninsula, this 5 kilometres of beach, it was once a fisherman's village, but nowadays you can find private villas and plenty of water activities along its sandy stretch. You can also snorkel here. You can take a Blue Lagoon snorkeling adventure. You can see Bali's coral reefs, which are teemed with angelfish and eels. Kuta is, in my opinion, the most touristy area. It's one area for the party girl about the globe. So if that's what you want to do, then Kuta is the place for you. It's the closest destination to the airport. If you want to shoot yourself up in the air on the bungee rocket, which I have done, or you just want to drink giant goldfish bowls of cocktails, which I have done, and then you can just go clubbing in your flip-flops. It's that kind of place, basically. So it's very easy to meet others there because it's very sociable and very partyish. There is a long promenade and you can find every fast food restaurant that you can possibly imagine. There's pubs, clubs along the main street within walking distance. You can find disco music, house, garage. But also, if you do fancy a quiet drink, you can have live music to accompany your meal. There are small privately owned restaurants found in the back lanes near the beach, which offer a wide menu of Western, Thai, Malaysian, Indonesian, and of course, Balinese cuisine. Make sure though, if you are here, to take advantage of the many happy hours that you can find where you buy one drink and get one free. Kuta is definitely the place where you won't have to drink or eat alone because there are so many people there. And it's also one of the destinations for surfers. It has the island's best surfing spots, and you can also hire boogie boards on the beach, or you can just take a surfing lesson. The beach is long and sandy. When I went, it was actually quite polluted with plastic, so I'm hoping that they've now done an initiative to help remove the plastic from the beach, so do be prepared for that. And also do be prepared to be hassled by the beach sellers who are trying to sell sarongs and watches as you sunbathe. It's also a good spot for a massage. You don't even need to go anywhere to have a massage. The masseuses just come and offer you one. But for a quieter beach, you may prefer Dreamland Beach, which is 45 minutes away from Kuta. If you're looking for a more high-end beach resort, Seminyak is nearby. It's to the north of Kuta and it's a very stylish beach resort. So you can find luxury hotels and villas. You can party in the beachfront clubs and bars, such as the Potato Head Beach Club, which is one of the places to go in Bali for an amazing sunset. Other things to do in this area is to pamper yourself in one of the many spas. If you head further north, then you're going to find the up-and-coming resort of Canggu. You've probably heard of Canggu if you've had a look into Bali. It's got a very cool and hipster vibe. It's a place to visit for yogis and people that want to practice yoga because there's so many yoga studios there. Its black sand beaches is also popular with the surfers, but one of the biggest reasons to come here is because it has one of the island's most famous temples called Tanah Lot. This particular island temple is located on a rock off the shoreline with spectacular water views. Another former fisherman's village, there are so many in Bali. Canggu also attracts digital nomads and artists, and it's one of the best places that I would say in Bali for solo travellers, especially if you're looking for things to do in Bali at night, along with Kuta. If you're more into being active, Ubud offers whitewater rafting, so you can go whitewater rafting on the island's rapids. You can bike for a full day and just explore the island's cultural heart on bike or even just hike. Ubud is a lot more relaxed and spiritual than Kuta and Seminyak, and it's easy to walk around There are a lot of lovely places to indulge in the cuisine as well, and there's a really nice vegetarian restaurant there. Things to do here include seeing the Ubud Palace and the sacred monkey forest sanctuary. Don't take any food with you into the monkey forest. I did this and a monkey took my food. So make sure that you hold onto your bag very tightly to ensure that the monkey doesn't grab it. You'll also find museums, galleries and temples here. You really can't go to Bali though and not experience a Bali jungle swing. So visit the jungle park near Ubud and there's a dozen swings to choose from. One of the cheap things to do in Bali is the Kampuhan Ridge Walk, which is located in Ubud. It's a 9-kilometre trek. It takes you past green hillside, away from the traffic and deep into nature. Also near Ubud, just north, is the rice terrace, which are emerald colourful fields which make up Bali's cultural landscape. You can hike down the terraces for magnificent views of the slopes or just enjoy the view at the top. We've never seen rice terraces before, they are absolutely stunning. Also near Ubud is the Elephant Cave Temple. This historical archaeological cave dates back to the 11th century. It's surrounded by rainforests and also streams. Inside the ground you'll find large stone carvings and stone idols wrapped in colourful cloth. As you enter the cave, you actually do walk through the mouth of a carved demon. It is touristy, but it's definitely worth a visit. To get around Ubud, you can hire a scooter, which is what a lot of people do. You can hire a car, but there are a lack of places to park. So if you're not that confident hiring a scooter, then maybe just take a metered taxi instead, or just hire a normal bike. For wildlife, you can head north from Ubud to Lovina Beach. This is a volcanic black sand beach where you can go and see the dolphins in their natural habitat. It's also where you can bathe in natural hot springs, see the nearby fisherman's village, the waterfall and the Pura Ulan Danu Bratan Temple, which is a beautiful temple complex on Beritan Lake. If you do have time, try and visit Menjangan Island, which is a part of West Bali National Park. It's a hidden gem and it's one of the destinations in Bali that is home to marine life. You can snorkel or dive in its coral reef beds. For the more adventurous girl about the globe, and if you're longing for a bit more nature, even though Bali has an abundance of nature, you can head to the island's volcano. Mount Batur has a summit of more than 17,000 metres. The best way to do this is to hike to the top before sunrise with a guide, of course, because you do hike in the dark as you walk up the volcano to get there for sunrise. And some of the tours also include breakfast. So basically, you arrive in the dark and you watch the sunrise, and then your guide creates a breakfast of boiled eggs, which is steamed over the volcano. It's so cool. But as well as hiking the volcano, you can also go paragliding, horse riding, or even downhill cycling here. But the highest point on the island is actually Mount Agun. It's a sacred mountain to the Hindus that you can climb. It is an active volcano, so again, you do need to take a guide with you if you want to conquer it. These are just the main areas in Bali. There are other places to see in Bali. So for more surfing beaches, you can find them on the Bukit Peninsula, which is the southernmost point of the island in South Bali. But even if you don't surf, and I don't really surf, I have tried it a couple of times, it's just a relaxing place to sit in one of the cliffside cafes and just watch the surfers. That area is also home to one of the nicest Hindu temples, which sits on the edge of a cliff and has amazing views. It's called the Uluwatu Temple, and it's one of the top Balinese tourist attractions. It's a good place to visit at sunset if you can. But to escape the crowds at Padang Padang, you can head to Thomas Beach, which is much less touristy. One of the most iconic images of Bali, though, I'm sure that you've done some research on Instagram and you've probably seen this temple with so many people standing in between the temple with flowing dresses. It's called the Pura Lempayang Temple. It's got to be one of the most Instagram spots on the island. It's also one of the country's oldest temples and the most respected. It's 1,175 metres above sea level and it's reachable via a steep staircase. If you do go here, make sure you take good walking shoes to see the views of Mount Agong from the top. It's also quite expensive to enter, and because it's so popular, you do need to pre-book your ticket beforehand. For more culture, you do need to visit Gunung Kawi Sebatu. It's a water temple with pools that you can swim in, and you may want to take someone else there or join a tour to get there. Tirta Empul Temple is another water temple complex known for its holy water. Inside this Hindu temple, which was built in 960 AD, you'll find lush gardens and bathing pools. And for bird lovers, the Bali Bird Park has more than 1,000 birds within its tropical park. It is a little bit touristy, but you can also see reptiles there too. One of the best things about Bali is that you can obviously spend weeks or even months here, and you can also explore outside of Bali because there are islands to visit. One of the most beautiful places to see near Bali are the Gili Islands, which are made up of Gili Meno, Gili Trawangan and Gili Air, which is a 2.5-hour boat ride from Bali near Lombok. Palm trees, sandy beaches and no motorised transport, they are the place to see in Bali. For turtles and a sunken shipwreck. There are other islands here, so off the coast you also find Nusa, Lembongan and Seningan. The island paradise of Nusa Lembongan is one of Bali's attractions due to its no traffic and plenty of surfing and diving in its clear water. If you choose to go to Nusa Seningan instead, you can zip line here, enjoy a drink in one of the beach bars or just surf to your heart's content. I honestly think that Bali is such an amazing destination for solo female travellers. It has beaches, it has a rich cultural heritage, plenty of people to meet when you solo travel. It's just a tropical paradise that's a perfect mix for anyone thinking of travelling alone to Bali. There are tour companies that go here if you do want company. You don't need to go on a tour, as I mentioned before. If you do, there are G Adventures that go there, True Travels. You can also get day tours. There's Get Your Guide Do Many Day Tours. There's also Bali Safest Driver. Places to stay in Bali, it's the perfect place to just rest and rejuvenate, no matter what your budget. So you can find hotels, hostels, small villas, guest houses. There's such a variety of options there, whether you're looking to stay for a week or a month. You can stay in a Balinese hotel surrounded by peaceful rice paddies or in one of the more luxurious Bali hotels on the beach. Staying in stunning accommodation here won't cost you the earth either. If you're looking for a party vibe, I recommend staying in Kuta, staying Ubud for more of a laid-back vibe, and staying Canggu for surfing and meeting digital nomads. You can treat yourself in Sanur or Seminyak, where you can find studios, private villas and 4- and 5-star hotels. You could also consider renting accommodation if you go into Bali alone for more than a week, or you can look for a co-living space. There's one in Canggu, where you can live and do your own work remotely with others. There's also Airbnb as well. So there are so many different places that you can stay. If you're wondering how do you get around in Bali, the main transportation here are scooters. Hiring one is relatively cheap. You can rent them on a daily basis or even by the month. You do need an international driving licence as far as I'm aware. So order one before you leave for your trip, or you may find yourself having to take motor taxis instead. Motor taxis are basically motorbikes or scooters with a private driver. So they work similar to a taxi. You just put your hand out, they stop, and you get on the back of the motorbike. They can work out cheaper than a car taxi, but just make sure to tell the driver if you're not happy with his driving. I actually really love getting around on the back of a motorbike with a driver. There's just something really cool about it. You can also hire a driver for the day to get around Bali, or you can just take a normal taxi. But just be aware there are unlicensed taxis on the island. You can look for Bluebird taxis who have an app that you can use, or just ask your accommodation to recommend a taxi firm. Other public transportation includes shuttle buses for getting around in Bali. There's one called Parama Shuttle Bus that will take you to all the main interest points, such as Ubud, Kuta and Lovina. They also run fast boats to 3 of the Gili Islands, making it easy for you to combine Bali with the islands as well. Okay, so now that I've inspired you on where to go in Bali, how long do you really need? I would say a week is enough time to see the sights, but you probably want to stay longer. Getting to Bali, obviously it's quite far out unless you're coming from Australia or New Zealand, so you might want to stay longer than a week just to make the most of your time there. If you're there for 10 days, for example, you could spend 3 nights in Kuta, 2 nights in Seminyak, 2 nights in Sanur and 3 nights in Ubud. There are also so many different yoga retreats there as well. You'll find healing and mindfulness retreats. beginner yoga retreats, awakening retreats. I use book yoga retreats, and then you can just filter what you're looking for, how long you're looking for, and the kind of price as well. Bali is a very tropical island, so if you're looking for the best time to visit, it's basically always warm and also humid. They do have a rainy season, which is meant to be from January to March. I am finding that when I travel nowadays that the weather is changing virtually everywhere that I'm travelling to, so that it just seems to be shifting. November also has some rainfall. The busiest time to visit Bali is between July and August, but you may want to avoid this, which is the high season. That also includes Christmas, New Year and Easter. So you could look at September or April to June instead, which will probably be a bit cheaper and not as crowded. For the cooler temperatures, you can head to the higher altitudes. But basically, Bali is a good year-round destination. Make sure that you do have travel insurance though, especially if you're going to be doing some activities. If you're going to be jumping off waterfalls or climbing volcanoes, then make sure that you are insured. I always make sure that I have the medical cover, so I do use True Traveller. Also used World Nomads in the past and Safety Wing. There's only one airport on the island. It's called Denpasar International Airport. It also has another name as well. You can find taxis near the arrival halls outside the terminal. Make sure that you don't use unlicensed taxis and negotiate a price before you get in. I do this in practically any country. Anyway, I make sure that I know exactly how much the price is going to be, or I ask them to turn the meter on when I get into a taxi. In regards to conscious travelling in Bali, because it's become such a popular destination, it also means that the island has changed to adapt to tourists. So make sure that you explore as much of the island as you can, including the rural areas, to see the real Balinese culture. You can also stay with people in guest houses and locally owned accommodation for more of a cultural experience. Indonesia, as well, is the world's second largest producer of plastic waste. The island says it aims to reduce plastic waste by 2025. It has banned plastic bags. Some restaurants have also banned single-use plastics. So if you are going to Bali, take a reusable bag with you and reduce your plastic consumption. If you're not partying in Kuta or another party area, just be culturally sensitive. As with anywhere, don't show too much flesh, especially if you're visiting a temple. Make sure that your shoulders and knees are covered at a Hindu temple. Obviously, don't participate in any dolphin performances. And make sure that any tour that you take to watch the dolphins in the wild is regulated. And also just make sure to look out for the cultural norms in Bali so that you don't offend the local people. Frequently asked questions about Bali. Can you drink the tap water? I wouldn't advise it. Tipping isn't expected. Sometimes the service charge is included, but obviously if you get good service, then feel free to tip. You can barter in the markets in the main tourist areas. You'll also find ATMs in the tourist areas as well. They drive on the left-hand side of the road, which is great for us Brits, and there are a few restaurants for vegetarians and vegans there. So in my personal opinion, if you're solo travelling and you're looking for somewhere exotic to go and an island destination, I definitely recommend Bali. You can find all of this information on the Girl About the Globe website for the Solo Travel in Bali guide, where I've also included recommended tour companies and accommodation and a few tips on how to plan your trip. And don't forget to join our Facebook group if you do need some extra advice. Facebook group is Girls About the Globe. And that's it for this week. I hope that I've inspired you to go to Bali, and I will see you next week.
Thanks for listening to our Girl About the Globe podcast, making solo travel easier for you. Find everything that you need for your solo travels at girlabouttheglobe.com, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss an episode.